Yeah, how you hating? You a fan, bro? But slow the honeys, I'm in the Lambo. Yeah, baby mama.
Yo, chat, what up? It's your boy Slick the Victor. We're back today with another episode. We're going to talk about day 2 of the Diddy trial with Cassie Ventura. She took the stand today, and I'm not going to lie to y'all, it's kind of looking good for Puff. It's looking good for him, man. We'll see what other further evidence comes about, but we're going to tune into law and crime and see what happened directly in the courtroom. You know, there's no cameras allowed in federal cases, so check this out. Appreciate y'all tuning in, and we're going to get to this content. Appreciate y'all.
Disgusting sex acts, a wild scene, and extreme violence. Day 2 of Sean Combs' criminal trial saw the beginning of the long-awaited testimony of Cassandra Ventura, the star.
My bad. Messed up, man.
Our witness of this case. We bring on law and crime reporter Elizabeth Milner, who is once again in the courtroom, to give us a sense of what exactly happened today in court. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Hey everybody, this is another Law and Crime legal alert. If you receive...
My bad. I never thought we'd see the word freak offs on the news ever in my life, man. This is crazy. 2025 is a wild year. Let's get
Depo-Provera birth control shots and were later diagnosed with a comprehensive breakdown of every... There is a lot to get into. We are going to give you a comprehensive breakdown of every major moment from today's proceedings, because as you know, there are no cameras in that courtroom. There is no audio of what happened, but we got the next best thing. We got Law and Crimes reporter Elizabeth Milner, who was inside that courtroom witnessing firsthand everything that happened today. Elizabeth, thank you so much for coming on. I know this has already been an exhausting day, particularly about what you heard in that courtroom. We will get to that. Before we even get into the testimony, real quick, is it just insane out there again? Are we seeing tons of people, reporters, spectators? Just tell us what the scene looks like right now.
The scene honestly kind of mirrored day 1, which was opening statements. You know, day 2 was really no different. A lot of people trying to get inside that courthouse, a lot of people trying to get inside that courtroom, especially for the big testimony that we were all expecting today. Of course, that being Cassie Ventura taking the stand. And so it was a lot of people just trying to kind of weasel their way in through. I was able to get inside that courtroom really just with the luck and a prayer and also a little connections, which always helps in this case. But really, it's just madness over here at the courthouse. I mean, there's media campouts just extending across the block. A lot of public interest in this case as well, too, from people who just either want to get a glimpse of either Diddy, his family, just be inside that courtroom, just be inside the courthouse, even if they're in the overflow room and able to kind of watch the proceedings that way. But there's definitely a lot of interest in the case, and I don't expect that to die down even throughout this week.
No, and this was expected with Cassandra Ventura taking the stand. Now, before we get to her
relationship with Cassie, said that Cassie asked to call in later on to meet her. The defense says it was for another experience, and Philip said, no, that wasn't necessarily the case. The defense said, so Cassie called for a one-on-one after she wasn't with Diddy any longer. And so then another interesting point that was brought up was just that Daniel Phillip had met with federal prosecutors in March of just this year. So just a couple months back. And they were talking about.
That's the sex worker that urinated in her mouth or whatever. So just like, you know, and she called back to him for more. He actually fell in love with her. It's like it's a real sick and twisted story. I'm not gonna lie to you. We find out each freak off takes 10 bottles of baby oil. Just keep on listening. Stay tuned.
Essentially, kind of what one thing I kind of remember from Daniel Phillip's testimony is just kind of the way he would talk about Cassie per se. Like, for example, yesterday he had said that Cassie was one of the most beautiful women that he had ever seen. He had also said, had Cassie given him a chance, that he would absolutely date her. So it seems like he kind of had more on his end, more of a platonic feeling towards Cassie, especially kind of in that need to kind of protect her. So, Phillip said that, Daniel Phillip, said that he wasn't necessarily jealous seeing Diddy have sex with Cassie, but he had allegedly told federal prosecutors that he was in October 7th of 2024. And this is where a sidebar had happened. And so after the sidebar, was over, Daniel Phillip was questioned again, would he feel jealous because he had liked Cassie romantically? And so Daniel Phillip said he didn't recall saying that to prosecutors. And so when the redirect happened, Maureen Comey just really kind of had to redirect all of the
Brian Steele in the
cross-examination, all of the
building.
back and forth, kind of back to a focus. So she asked, about Diddy directing and why that wasn't brought up necessarily. Said that Diddy had directed Cassie to give him, oral, rub baby oil on him. They were asked, Daniel Phillip was asked about money, given more money for sex, $3,800 more than he would be if he were to come over to dance, or for time, I should say. He said he was paid anywhere between $700 to $5,000, $6,000 just for sex, and then essentially he's paid $0 and 0 cents if he didn't have sex with Cassie or in the room with Diddy. And so, during the redirect, Daniel Phillip said Cassie normally didn't respond to his text messages. But then there was a point that, after Diddy had beat Cassie, that Diddy was actually trying to get Cassie to continue to perform sexually with Daniel Phillip, and said that Daniel couldn't get an erection after kind of hearing the slaps going on in a nearby room. He said he essentially just wanted to hug her because he could tell that she was shaking and that she was afraid, and that pretty much reaffirmed that.
So y'all gonna hear a lot that happened today is gonna make Puff sound bad. You know what I'm saying? Because it was a lot of domestic stuff, but that's not what this case is about. See, this case here is about sex trafficking. This is a sex trafficking RICO. So if they can't prove the sex trafficking, should he be punished? Let that, be up to you guys to decide. But I think he paid that $30 million is going to be all the punishment that he pretty much got. So we'll see. We'll keep on listening.
Diddy beat Cassie essentially, and even called her the B word. And so then they were talking under the recross. He was asked again about, text messages that he said he didn't receive responses to. And then some of the exhibits were showing that, Cassie had responded very casually to some of those messages. So some of those were pretty much the big takeaways from Daniel Phillip's recross, redirect, recross. And so, and then that essentially wrapped him up as a witness. He was off the stand probably within an hour of when court had began. And for the most part, she kept laser focused on Emily Johnson as Emily Johnson was asking her questions. Probably the only people outside of Emily Johnson and possibly even her husband that she was eyeing in the courtroom was probably little moments at the jury, when they had came in back from, their breaks or a quick bathroom break and that type of sort. And it was just a very kind of like faint smile. And so for the most part, from what I could see of her, it didn't seem like she kind of paid Diddy any type of mind, but you can only guess how she's feeling being inside that.
That was the first time they see each other
supposedly
we're all jotting 2018.
down these notes. Diddy's family's inside that courtroom listening to all of this testimony. Then you have Cassie's side of the family, who's inside that courtroom as well, that even including her husband, Alex, as well as her brother. I believe her mother was inside that courtroom as well too, as well as
crazy is I don't even know how her husband feels right now, because she stirred all of this stuff up, right? And then now she's coming and saying in the trial, you're gonna hear what she said. She said that she did all of this because she was just so in love with Diddy and she didn't want anyone else to have him. I think she's kind of still got some feelings for him. I think it's something a little bit more to this story here. I don't think that she was really prepared for what's about to come with this trial. And she's doing this like pregnant. She's like third trimester, they said. It's crazy. Back to
Cassie's attorney, Doug Woodder. So for the most part, I didn't see her, even when she had exited the courtroom, even looking at the defense's side or anything like that. And so she was there to do what she had needed to do, and that was to testify. To me, I wasn't catching that she was there really for a reunion or any type of sorts. But it's interesting because, according to the defense, the last time Diddy and Cassie were in a room together or in the same vicinity as each other was Kim Porter's memorial back in 2018. That's what the defense said in their opening statement yesterday. And so, this was a moment that I'm sure she had waited for a long time, probably didn't want to be very close to giving birth or anything like that while she's taking the stand. But, it's been a long time since because she said she was in a relationship at the time with somebody else. She said she felt sneaky, but she essentially just wanted to be around him because he was exciting, he was entertaining. And she said that, you know, it made her feel kind of special because not everybody was getting.
And these are all things that she's saying about Puff, right? So the defense, when the defense is ready to go back at her, remember Puff paid like upwards of 10 million for this crew here, man. He got the dream team. So when the defense gets to ream at Cassie, that's gonna be the, I don't know. We're gonna see. We're gonna see what other witnesses they got. It's supposed to be just be her and the other Jane Doe. We don't know who it is. I think it's the Asian girlfriend he had, the one that was on Tasha K's podcast, but we don't know yet. So we're gonna see. Just stay tuned.
That time with Sean Combs, and even just think about that time frame. This was Puffy, this was Puff Daddy, this was Diddy, you know, this was somebody who was a big name. And so from her perspective, I can kind of see a little bit why she was a little excited to kind of go over there again under the guise that she was going to be talking about music, and that's not essentially what had happened. And then the prosecution talked about this trip to Miami, and this trip was also pretty important because this was a trip that they had taken. Carrie Morgan, Cassie's best friend at the time, was there. Dallas Austin, who was a music producer, was there as well too. And she referred to Dallas Austin as a friend. You'll remember Dallas Austin because he was on that People and Places list that the jurors were given during jury selection process. And so she thought initially that she was going to Miami for work. And a flyer was even made about her doing kind of a club appearance, a booking appearance down there. But instead, she was having sexual intercourse with Sean Combs on a boat. She said even later that night, that's when she started. She took a drug, and that was what they called a blue dolphin pill, was essentially ecstasy. She said she was given the ecstasy actually by Sean Combs, and that she had never taken a drug intentionally before. And she said intentionally because she said she unintentionally accidentally drank a drug from somebody else some other time, but that was the first time she intentionally did it. And again, that was kind of her first introduction to it. She said ecstasy kind of made her feel euphoric. And then us in the gallery, as well as the jurors, we saw photos of Diddy and Cassie on that boat together. And that's the boat where the two first had engaged in sexual intercourse for the first time. And then even after that trip, that's kind of where everything changed. She said essentially that they spent a lot of time together, and that she became one of Diddy's girlfriends. Now, at the time, she initially really just thought that
Puff, what they trying to say is that Puff was pretty much grooming her, right? The first couple months, you know, hey, it's all cool, lovey-dovey, just us two hanging out. And then he slowly eased her into all of this stuff. First was by giving her the blue dolphin, right? The ecstasy pill. Now it's moving on to other things, right? So now here, this is when they move in. Just watch how they do it.
the two were monogamous because they spent so much time together. And she said even afterwards, you know, they didn't go public for years after that because publicly he was still dating Kim Porter. Even after this trip, she broke ties with her old management. And she said post Miami trip, that's when she started falling in love with Sean Combs. She said she called her, or she referred to herself as his shadow because that's how often the two were together. But she said that Sean Combs was her first adult relationship. We were later shown an exhibit. It was the photo of the two of them at a strip club in New York City together in Halloween of 2007. And we were shown photos of Sean Combs and Cassie in the back of a car together at their relationship. So you could really kind of see from her perspective, from what I saw from the exhibit, her just kind of smiling, her being what I perceived to be excited to be there. Again, she
associates and chiefs of staff to further his criminal activity, to keep tabs on.
My man Flakko actually just did a video I was just checking out. That's good too. Hold on, let me pull that up real quick. 1 second. Yeah.
But
there's timing right now. Flakko on timing.
The Diddy trial just wrapped up for the day. And am I allowed? Is this like a safe place? Can I say what we are all thinking?
Yeah.
What we are all
really
afraid to say
crazy.
after watching, or I guess reading the transcripts for this Diddy trial today. While watching this, we all thought, Diddy, you are a bad boy. All right, bro, let me chill with the punchlines. But while watching this, I think we all thought, Diddy, you are a vile human being. You are terrible. You are a horrible boyfriend. You are criminally horrifying.
But he's
You're
not a
one of
sex trafficker.
Satan's
But he's
greatest
not a
creations.
sex trafficker.
You are a
not.
disgusting, vile man. But I don't feel like we watched that trial after hearing from Cassie, after hearing from the male gigolos. I don't feel like well, at least not most of us, walked away today feeling like Diddy is a trafficker. And that's the issue. That's the problem. Because this is what Diddy has been indicted for trafficking these women. Prosecutors laid his.
I feel like these women are actually, not to cut everything off, but what's happening is as soon as you tell them you don't want them, right? Then it becomes like we got it. Like I said yesterday, we gotta go get a lawyer, right? The same thing's happening right now with Lil Wayne. It's the same thing that's happening. As soon as you kick these girls out, these guys are millionaires, right? This dude's a billionaire. I'm sorry, he's a billionaire. What do you expect him to do? You know what I mean? You think you're gonna be the only one? He did the same thing. Carisha was next. Carisha was next. Back to the content.
Is out plain and simple. They're saying Diddy's conduct was criminal. They're saying Diddy coerced women who he was dating, by the way, and transported them across state lines and even out the country to engage in these rendezvous. Here's where it gets tricky. They're not accusing Diddy of doing this with 1,000 random women,
Just
flying
two.
them out, strictly transactional, which I thought that was the case. They're saying this entire case, this entire trial is based around two women, Cassie and a Jane Doe, both in which Diddy was dating extensively. Like they were actual girlfriends of his. Diddy attorneys in their opening statement addressed the public perception of Diddy. They said, listen, if this was a domestic violence case, if this was a case of Diddy being accused of putting his hands on Cassie, he's guilty. He did it. But this is not what this trial is about. This trial is about him being accused of trafficking Cassie and this other woman in whom he dated extensively. They're not even charging Diddy for transporting and paying the male gigolos who engage in these free calls with him and Cassie, because Diddy never paid them. Diddy never handed them money. One of the male gigolos named Daniel Phillips, he took the stand today and he testified that Cassie is who he received payment from. Cassie handed him $4,000. Cassie used a credit card to book him from off their company's website.
Cassie paid for everything. All of the money you're gonna hear the guy Daniel Phillips that we talked about in the beginning. She paid him the money the first time, and she came to the door with the wig on, dressed in disguise, paid him $4,000, told him what he was there to do, told him how to do it. She coached him through that, so she's just as guilty, if you ask me.
Cassie is who handled all the transactions and all the payments. Diddy never did it. Now, they will claim that Diddy never did it because Diddy was too paranoid of the police, but nonetheless, they can't charge him with transporting or paying them because Diddy never paid them. And Phillips testified that other times he did it for free because he was just happy to be in the presence of Diddy and Cassie. And he thought Cassie was one of the hottest women he've ever been with, so he would have done it for free, in which he did do it for free a couple of times. As a matter of fact, the only type of compensation that was ever mentioned was when Diddy would give Cassie gifts or take her on a shopping spree or give her
that's
money.
What they consider,
and the feds would try to link.
That's where they're considering it sex trafficking. So if you fly a chick out and you take her to eat and have intercourse with her and then send her back home on her way, that's considered trafficking. Is what the feds are pretty much trying to say. You purchased some things for her, you had intercourse with her, you flew her there, and then you sent her back home. So I guess now you just got to save all of them. It's crazy.
He was doing this so Cassie could do this, so hence this is trap. Bro, what? Listen, man, all men, imagine if this becomes a slippery slope, bruh, that getting your girlfriend's gifts and then having intercourse or engaging in a rendezvous, that equates to a federal trafficking charge. Imagine that slippery slope, dog. Imagine telling your girlfriend, hey, baby, my biggest fantasy is to be with two women at the same time. I've always wanted a threesome, babe. And she's a little reluctant. But you say, babe, just for my birthday, man, I just want this, please. Babe, I promise, if you give me what I want, I promise, I would do whatever for you, babe. I would, wash your feet. I will pick the kids up every day. I'll take the trash out on time. And then you buy her the Chanel and another bag, and you take her out of the country on vacation just to make it up to her. And then by the time you look up, you in a courtroom for trafficking. Imagine if that's how slippery the slope was,
and
bro.
just had to pay a $30 million.
So, yeah, Diddy is a garbage human being, right? I think Diddy should be in jail for putting his hands on this woman. But is what Diddy did trafficking? I don't think so, especially when you take a look into both women agreeing that the only reason why they did this, you are my birthday present. And he says, yo, she was enjoying herself. But she thought this was a one-time thing.
So look, chat right here. It says you were wearing a New York. This is when they're asking the Philip Donaldson dude, the stripper dude, Daniel Phillip or whatever. So you were wearing a police uniform? Yeah, I bought an NYPD t-shirt. You took the oil off in front of Cassie? The oil? No, I took my clothes off. She said, it's my birthday. Does it appear she was enjoying herself? Yes. So right there, she's enjoying herself. She said that the only reason she was doing this was because she loved Puff. So now listen to all of this, man. Let Flakko finish this.
Obviously, we know by now that it wasn't a one-time thing, and he kept on asking her to do it and do it and do it. And the more they did it, the freakier they got. Right? The more freaky the request got, the more things they did, the more they explored, and she felt nasty about it. She would enjoy herself in the moment, but then afterwards, she felt nasty inside, and she would say to such when she took the stand. How did you feel? Ventura responded back, I was an object being heavily objectified by men. Sometimes he would watch by FaceTime, so sometimes Diddy wasn't even in the room, and she was still showing out. Now, they says, were some sessions recorded on your devices? And she agreed, right? Now, they will ask, yo, if you saw them on your device, what would you do? She says, I would delete them.
Right.
They said, why? Cass responded back, they were disgusting. I
so
never wanted anyone to see them. Most people will have that reaction if they look back on all the freaky stuff they did in the bedroom. Most men actually have this reaction when, like, after.
Can I just say real quick? You know, and I know she's pregnant and she's going through this trial, but that's going to be a lot of trauma on that baby, man. Just being through all of the stress that she's going through in that courtroom right now, I feel bad. So hopefully let's just pray for the baby.
After going to town and you stop and you think about the nasty, nasty, nasty adult movie that you just watched, that nasty corn that you just watched, you feel disgusting inside. Cassie... And we're going to talk about some of the acts that she was doing in those free calls and some of the things that was taking place. So her watching that back, she felt disgusted inside. But as she just said, she didn't stop because she didn't want him to do it with someone else. And even when they have like the messages of her kind of like expressing, I don't really want to do this no more. She walked it back when he asked her again, what, like you don't want to do this?
What did Trump say? Those emails.
She would walk it back. So the only messages they have of her expressing she don't want to do it, she walked it back in like the next email. She texts Diddy, I really need to F. Diddy responded back, kind of like confused, like, wait, you don't want to do anymore, right? Like, you told me this before. And she responded back, I'm so predictable, like kind of saying, yeah, I know I said that, but, you know, like, obviously I want to do it again. So then they asked her, yo, what did you think this meant? She wrote that he knew I didn't want to do the free calls anymore, but then I backpedaled. But then she backpedaled because she wanted to be with Diddy. She just didn't want to do the free calls. But she felt like she had to do the free calls if she wanted to be with Diddy. And this is the scenario that we're currently at. Don't get me wrong. Diddy is a garbage human being. Diddy took advantage. I wholeheartedly believe that Diddy knew in his heart, bro, she was uncomfortable doing certain things, but he just didn't care. He just kept allowing it because he knew that she wanted to please him and she would keep coming back. Diddy is garbage for knowing that this chick didn't want to keep on doing this and she felt disgusted afterwards. But she didn't have the courage to say no because she didn't want to lose him. He knew this, and he took advantage, and he kept doing it. He's a garbage human being for that. But is this trafficking?
Not a trafficker, though.
Hey, bro. That's the question here, bro.
And he says Cassie opens
in the bedroom.
That's from the breakfast.
You can see to make
boss. So his boss came to him one day and said, look, I have this this couple who wants to do something for the wife. It's a bachelorette party. They need a male stripper. They didn't have a male stripper, so he went. He shows up in an NYPD t-shirt and he says, Cassie, he alleges Cassie opens the door. She's in red lingerie. She's in a wig, dark glasses, and pumps. And she's like, listen, your boss told me that I'm supposed to give you $200. And this is what he's alleging. And instead, she gives him $4,000. She's like, I want to explain to you what's about to happen. So this is not a bachelorette party. My husband likes to do special things for me. He wanted to do this for my birthday. He just wants us to like rub baby oil on each other and, you know, just kind of like get familiar with each other. And whatever happens from there, if you're comfortable, I'm open to it.
It gets more explosive, but that's just one of the reasons why I believe Diddy was never charged with transporting or trafficking the male gigolos, because Cassie was who was paying them.
Yep.
And also to pay attention and be very smart and alert here. Cassie did not pay them to engage in intercourse. Cassie paid them to rub oil on her. And whatever happens from that point on,
she said
happens. But here is your money to rub oil on me. Hey, again, say man, Flakko, bro, that's obvious, bro. Of course the feds will see through that. Cool, but they not charging Cassie or Diddy with dealing with them. They're charging Diddy with dealing with apparently trafficking Cassie and a Jane Doe.
So he's like, okay. So he goes in. He says when he walked in on like just
okay.
he literally said Cassie was one of the most beautiful women he ever seen in his life. He couldn't even believe that it was happening like this. So he walks in and he alleges that Puff was there sitting in the room, but you couldn't tell it was him because he had a bandana tied around his face and he had a hat on and he was sitting in the corner. So he randomly was just like
looking like CJ from San Andreas.
recounting their experiences, and he just came out and said, yeah, like, because they were asking him what are some of the things you would have to do. He said, well, one time Cassie asked me to, you know, urinate
on her,
on her, and now we all gasping like, wait, because
Cassie asked the male gigolo Daniel Phillip to do that to her. That's what she asked him. Remember that.
Oh, so Cassie asked him, not Diddy.
Exactly, because the prosecutors opened up that literally probably like 15 minutes before that. The prosecutors were like, Cassie is going to tell you that Diddy allegedly made this escort urinate on her. That there's an escort sitting in front of us sworn in on the stand saying, no, Cassie told me to do that.
And this is what I was talking about yesterday.
Doing things on your free will to make a man happy and then feeling disgusted with yourself.
What's crazy is that in the beginning, when the prosecutors opened up the thing, they said that you're going to hear from our witness here, Daniel Phillip, that you're going to hear from Cassandra Ventura that Diddy asked her to do, made her get peed on. She was forced to do that. No, this guy said Cassie asked him. Cassie asked him personally.
Stuff afterwards and having regret does not rise to the level, bruh, that Diddy is currently being charged. We know Diddy put hands on Cassie. He should be in jail for it. He's a despicable human being. Nobody, no real man will ever co-sign that. But it feels like Diddy is being charged with Cassie making decisions to please a man and putting a man happiness before hers, feeling disgusted afterwards as she recalls exactly what she did for this man who she probably absolutely hates right now, and she's having regrets. But that does not mean that this man trafficked you, bro.
I'm with you.
That right there is crazy. Now, Cassie did indeed take the stand, and Cassie told him that she did not want people to piss on her, that she did it only to make Diddy happy. Cassie will say that she did not want it, and they will ask her, how did it feel to get urinated on? And she would say, it was disgusting. It was too much. I choked. No one could think I wanted that. Now, she's saying, bro, y'all couldn't possibly think I wanted to get urinated on by two guys.
She was there to do all the other freak stuff. We gonna see what else was going on because they're about to show them tapes. See, the jury gonna see that Cassie was getting down. You know what I mean? She came to play. Coach put her in the game that day.
But
coach was Diddy.
They're like, hold on, bro. This guy said you asked him to do it. So they asked her, why were you choking? She said, too much urine in my mouth. Who else urinated on you? Sean. Did you want Sean to urinate on you? I didn't want anyone to urinate on me. How often did it happen? Often enough. The prosecutors are just not doing a good job at laying the groundwork and laying the foundation for what this is. This is not a domestic violence trial.
This is an adult film trial. This is going to be a great movie, man. Listen, I'm going to wrap it up here because not much else is to be said. We're going to really tune in on it tomorrow. Just know that they were announcing it was 10 plus bottles of baby oil used. Puff had to heat up the baby oil to make it glisten. Like that, he gave her. You know what? Let's just keep listening. Whatever. I'll let y'all just keep listening.
This is a federal racketeering of federal RICO. So there was a criminal organization because she didn't want to lose Diddy. He met her in 2020. She was a single mom who was infatuated with Diddy, wanted to be with Diddy. She was a fan. Now, one night he told her about this, and she made it happen immediately. I mean, she ain't even had a chance to second guess him. She went and do whatever for him. So he directed her step by step, but she thought it would be a one-time thing. She was wrong. He continued, right? He was even offering her a real relationship if she kept doing it. However, eventually she began to get jealous. Diddy defense attorney actually painted Jane Doe in like a jealous, fanned out type of woman.
They both said, Cassie and other girl, that the only reason that they got jealous because they saw other women taking their place. They saw the young Miamis. They saw he was still messing with Kim Porter. They seen all of these other women. So that's why they took, this is why this man is in here fighting for his life.
They will provide messages that showed her offering up to do the free calls if Diddy will leave those other women. Like, she would get really jealous when she would see him probably outside with young Miami, outside with this woman and this woman and this woman. And she was willing to do whatever for Diddy, like whatever. Like if he wanted to do it, she would do it.
Toxic, but
they did drugs together. Yeah, they did certain things together. But if she's showing a willingness and an eagerness to do certain things because she don't want Diddy to do it with other women, yeah, Diddy took advantage of her. Yeah, Diddy is probably a garbage human being for forcing these women. Forcing is crazy. But he knew they weren't all down to do it, but they would do it for him, and he took advantage of that. But that's not criminal. Seasoned courtroom reporters would even make videos saying they don't understand the angle by the prosecutors, and it feels like the prosecutors are dropping the ball because they're wasting too much time on a domestic violence angle. The world and a mama know Diddy is a garbage human being who probably put his hands on women.
Domestic violence, he should have been in the state court, man. You know what I mean? I honestly think if it was just a domestic violence thing, I think he would have pled out because of that video that we saw. I think he would have took his time for that. But now they're trying to introduce all of the domestic violence to tie into him sex trafficking this girl because that's the most incriminating evidence that I really think that they have on him. So let's just see.
But this is a trafficking case. So one reporter would even drop a video and he would explain exactly what I'm trying to portray in this video.
Though, but I hate to say it, the bottom line is people who came to watch the case were walking out. I hate to say it. We were getting bored in there with Cassie's testimony. I think everybody thought it was going to be explosive. This is a RICO case. They're trying to show trafficking, if you know what I mean. And I hate to say it, but the government is doing a terrible job at showing it. Now, they are showing, yes, domestic violence. They keep asking her, so at these freak-offs, who selected your outfits? Who did Diddy? But they're not showing, okay, this escort was taken, traveled here for this. And it's not showing multiple people involved. All you're seeing the government prove is that Diddy committed domestic violence, but that is a state case that is not need a federal trial. So I hate to say it, guys. We know we don't want this, but I think Diddy could get off on the RICO charges. I'm not seeing it. I could be wrong, but the government is just not doing a great job. I stepped out because I'm just dying in there. It is really hard. It's hard to write all day. I will have more info on stuff for you guys. Cassie broke down on the stand crying, basically just saying that she loves the diddler and she would do anything for him. And I hate to say it, but I think the defense is going to come back and say, well, this is a case of somebody who is just so in love that she would say, literally, I just wanted to make him happy. I didn't want him to be angry or upset because he didn't know what could happen. And so I think the defense is going to get up there and say, look, You were just so in love with him. You would do anything he asked you to. Well, guess what? That's not, you know, that was your choice. That's what they're going to say is you're an adult and you made that choice, whether good or bad, you made that choice to do anything for him for love. So I don't know, Patriots.
These issues are sensitive because we're faced with a man.
Yeah, chat. So, yeah, man, like I had to say. So, in closing, pretty much what you heard there is that Diddy is being reamed in court for being a domestic violence abuser, but nothing here is about trafficking women. Cassie's up there. She's venting about how much she was in love with him. Her husband is in there listening to this, and now that he may have to go up and testify. That's what they were saying today. They don't want him in the courtroom because the defense wants to put him on the stand. Remember, he was the trainer that she cheated on Diddy with and left, right? Puff let it go. But she's saying that Diddy was stalking her, he was following her, everything else. He was forcing her to do all of these things. We still got the other Jane Doe that's going to be coming in. But we're going to see what's up right there. It's your boy Slick the Victim. We out, man. Make sure you comment down below if y'all think Puff should be hit with these sex trafficking charges. If y'all think it should just be domestic. If y'all think that this whole thing should just be thrown out because they don't have enough evidence. Make sure y'all like, comment, share, subscribe. And I look forward to seeing y'all tomorrow for the next video. Let's go.
Baby mama, she a fan though. All my niggas just strapped to be in that band though. How you hate, you a fan, bro. Bust slow, the honeys, I'm in the Lambo. Yeah, baby.